This is the City of Waupaca, third Tuesday of the month, City Council meeting.
So we have our regular scheduled city council meeting tonight, but we also have a public hearing which has to do with our 2022 property tax levy and budget. As in the past, we have always had a public hearing before we have council approve the budget for the next year. And we do it in a public hearing format. So I'll call that meeting to order, and I'll have Sandy take roll for us.
Brian Smith.
Here.
Colin Dykstra.
Here.
Lori Chestnut.
Here.
Paul Hagan.
Here.
Alan Keeland.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
Dimitri Martin.
Here.
Mary Fair.
Here.
And Eric Olson.
Here.
10 present. We have a quorum.
Thanks, Sandy. So the purpose of the hearing is just to give people the opportunity to speak about our 2022 budget. There was, and you can see it on your second page of your packet that you received. This was what was printed and presented. I'm guessing there'll be some modifications to that, but it's fairly close to what we are going to pass tonight. So at this time, we'll give the public the opportunity to give testimony in favor of the budget. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to give testimony in favor of the proposed 2022 budget, please step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, and limit your discussion to 3 minutes or less. Anybody that would like to give testimony in favor of? Seeing none, we'll go to testimony in opposition. Do we have any testimony in opposition to the proposed 2022 budget? Again, seeing none, I'll declare this hearing closed at, I'm sorry.
I'm here for the other meeting, for the city meeting, but I didn't see any of this. Is there going to be an increase in the property taxes?
Well, let's just answer that, Kathy, will you?
The tax rate is going down by $1.02, the gross levy.
Yay. Awesome.
We don't have all the numbers yet for the net levy, the net mill rate, but the gross levy is going down by $1.02.
So we'll take that as a testimony in favor of, since you yelled.
And what is your name and address?
Christine Burnett, B-U-R-N-E-T-T, and I'm at 218 High Street.
All right, any other discussion on the public hearing? If not, I'll declare this hearing closed at 6:05 PM. All right, let's go right into the regular city council meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. It is Tuesday, November 16th. And as always, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and we'll ask Sandy to read the clerk's open meeting statement for us.
This meeting and all other meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
Thanks. And would you also take roll call for this meeting?
Brian Smith.
Here.
Colin Dykstra.
Here.
Lori Chestnut.
Here.
Paul Hagan.
Here.
Alan Keeland.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo,
Here.
Dimitri Martin,
Here.
Mary Fair,
Here.
and Eric Olson.
Here.
10 present, we have a quorum.
And as we've done for about a year now, I have introduced the department heads that attend our meetings, but tonight I think I actually have them introduce themselves and just tell us what their position is. So Sandy, you want to start?
I'm Sandy Stibbs, and I'm the city clerk.
Aaron?
Aaron Jensen, City Administrator.
Kathy?
Kathy Kaza, Finance Director, City Treasurer.
Peg Burrington, Library Director.
Jared Rakey, Community and Economic Development Director.
Thomas Hart, City Attorney.
Justin Barons, Public Works.
Andrew Whitman, Park and Rec Director.
Paul Benjuel, Patrol Sergeant, Police Department.
Thanks for coming tonight, Paul. Thank you for that. We are missing Josh Warner. He is, of course, behind the scenes, making sure that it's being operated properly on radio and TV for us tonight. And then I do want to, this is a little unusual, but I do want to recognize our new member of the Waupaca County Post, James Card. Is that right? Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
You also.
It's great to come to this community. If you have any interesting stories to share, please reach out. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. All right, next up, we have the consent agenda. This is where we take all of the items that you see on the consent agenda and vote on those with one motion and approve those. If not, if you see an item on the consent agenda that you would like to see moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda where you would vote on that individually, let me know at this time and we'll move that over. If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. You have something on there, don't you, Sandy? Sorry.
Under number 5, letter A, monthly reports. Number 1, the finance directors, and number 8, the city administrator's report were both uploaded to the city website.
All right. Thank you, Sandy. So at this time, we'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda with that one addition.
So move.
Second. Motion by Chestnut, second by Keela, and that we approve the consent agenda with that addition. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Under the regular agenda, there are no additions or deletions to the agenda. We'd be just looking for a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Martin, second by Chestnut, that we approve the regular agenda. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Under announcements, we have a certificate of appreciation to Josh Peterson, who works in our Parks and Rec department. He's been here for 15 years. So, Andrew, you want to take that and make sure that he gets that and give him a big thank you for him, all of us? Thank you. That far ahead. Yeah, let me do that. Thank you. All right. So next up, we have a proclamation designating December 1st, 2021 as a Christmas stamp day in Wolpacka, Wisconsin. If you remember, this first came to us 3 years ago, and as we, just a brief history on that, Wolpacka post office is known as the first Christmas stamp in the United States. So there's a gentleman that brought this forward to us, and we've agreed to continue this because I think it's a pretty cool thing. And so we have a proclamation that we read each year at this time, right before Christmas, to just talk about that. So whereas by 1950, a number of countries had issued stamps with Christmas themes. These included Canada, Netherlands, Brazil, St. Pierre, and Hungary and Australia. Cuba was the first country to issue Christmas stamps on an annual basis beginning in 1951. In 1957, Australia began issuing stamps for Christmas annually, whereas in 1958, Father Jules V. Seminole assigned the Blessed Sacrament Preparatory Seminary in Waupaca, Wisconsin, received a Christmas card from a friend in Australia. The stamp on the cover had an image of a nativity scene. He was so impressed by the stamp that he felt that the United States should also issue a stamp for Christmas. And whereas he shared his feelings with Father Michael S. Wisniewski, pastor of the St. Mary's Magdalene Parish in Waupaca, who in turn passed it on to the parish's Legion of Mary organization. This organization, along with the local Knights of Columbus and the Junior Chamber of Commerce, the City Council, and the County Board, started a letter-writing campaign to convince the Post Office Department to issue a Christmas stamp. And whereas U.S. Congressman Melvin R. Laird drafted a bill in 1959 that called for the Post Office Department to issue a Christmas stamp featuring the Nativity and stipulated that the stamp be placed on sale in Waupaca, Wisconsin. Congressman Laird was informed that requests for commemorative stamps must be sent to the Postmaster General. If the stamp requested meets the criteria established for selection, it then referred to the Citizen Staff Advisory Committee. And whereas in 1962, the Postmaster General announced the decision to issue a Christmas stamp that year with the first printing of 862 million stamps, quickly selling out, and Christmas stamps became an annual event thereafter. Now, therefore, I, Brian Smith, Mayor of the City of Waupaca, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, December 1st, 2021 as Christmas Stamp Day in the City of Waupaca. Pretty cool thing. All right, let's go. Let's keep moving here. We have, next up, we have Community Department Head Reports. And do we want to, should we start with Ann? I see that Ann is here tonight, Ann Berger-Linden, and to talk a little bit about the Yuletide Trail. Are you prepared? Sure. Thank you. If you want to just step up to the podium.
Are we going to see the slides?
I will pull it up, Ann. Yep.
Okay. So, as Brian mentioned, my name is Ann Berger-Linden. I'm representing the Waupaca Area Arts and Culture Network tonight. That the network is made up of a number of different community arts and culture type organizations, and I'm also the executive director of Winchester Academy. So this year, like last year, actually this is the third annual Yuletide Trail event. The first year it started, there was a cookie walk. You picked up a tin at the Waupaca Historical Society and went to various businesses and organizations around the city, collecting one homemade cookie per tin, walking around, and then businesses participated with special promotions. Last year, due to the pandemic, that event took on kind of a different form, and we decided to do a Santa tour around town because we didn't want to have any congregating type gatherings downtown. So this is the route that we've proposed for this year. It starts at South Park. It goes north on Washington Street, west on Union, north on Morton, up around the Swan Park neighborhood a little bit, back down Harrison Street, over Grant, past the Foundry. We hit the Oak Manor, a mobile home park, come back down south, down State Street, across, I believe it's Badger at that point, or School Street, over to Lake Street, head down A. So we're trying to hit a lot of different neighborhoods, come over. And then last year we had a lot of people say, gosh, we wish you had come to Bethany Home. So this year we're going to swing south and go through that neighborhood, encourage people to have families, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren out there. And then we return back up Berlin Street, go west on Lake Street, north on Jefferson Street, and we're going to finish at the city square here by the bandstand. We'd like to take up several parking spaces right there on Union Street at the corner. Currently, there's a porta potty parked there that we'd like to have removed by that time, and then cone off a few spaces and join another event that will be concurrent event happening on the square. Do we have the other drawing that we can put up?
Sandy, was there another drawing that go to the packet?
Yes, Josh said it was already put on your computer.
I see it back here. Can I do something to
I will
click it up?
Yes. Let me just go ahead and switch the input. We should be good.
This guy's a magician. Maybe not.
There it is. Okay, so the other participating organizations are going to have tables set up around the square along the diagonal. I guess it will be the northeast. The Community Arts Board will be doing craft tables. They'll have 4 different tables. Then there will be cookie stops from the Community Arts Board and the new Hub organization. The chat group will be doing popcorn. The library's teen group is doing hot chocolate, and there's a 4K craft table there. One of the features, you see the flames there in the middle. The Community Arts Board wants to do fire pits, and we were told we need special permission from the city to do that. It's been reviewed by city departments, and the fire department has agreed as long as it's kept away from buildings and other flammable materials. The trees, I think, are trimmed high enough that that's not going to be a factor. And we were asked to put some kind of an underlayment. These aren't going to be on the ground. They're going to be those little elevated fire pits that a lot of people have on their patios or in their backyards over patio stones and things. So we'll bring in some pavers that will protect the grass so that if any embers happen to fall, that we don't have brown patches next summer. We'll have carolers on the square, and then that big right rectangle that you see off on Union Street is where we propose having Santa Park. He'll jump off the sleigh at that point and provide photo ops for families with their children. One thing I failed to mention is that we also will be distributing books along the trail. We ran out last year about 2/3 of the way through, so we doubled our order. And we distribute those one to a family. This year it's going to be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And there are 3 or 4 other places around the city that will be also distributing free books, one to a family. So I think we need approval for the route and for the fire pits.
Right? So I went a little bit out of order here. I'm sorry about that. So if you can, Council, if you can just go to 9A. And let's take care of that at this time. So as Ann has said, she's doing well at my job. I should just be quiet. But they do need the approval of the city council to use the city streets for this, and then also to use our city square for this event. So.
I failed to mention one thing. We've also asked that the police department provide an escort for the Santa tour. I didn't really describe that very clearly. It's going to be a sleigh mounted on a trailer, towed by a pickup truck, and then the police escort would lead it, providing that there's no other emergency in the city that requires the police attention. And we did that last year. It worked out really well.
All right. Anybody have any questions or would like to make a motion to approve this?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
Motion by Martin, second by Olson, that we approve of the request to use our numerous city streets on the city square for the Waupaca Area Arts and Culture Network Yuletide Trail event. Any discussion?
Does that also include the fire pits?
Yeah, do you want to?
Well, whoever made the motion. Just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
they-
Are you okay with that?
The fire pits and the police pulling of the sleigh.
The picture that we have up on the screen, we're approving.
Yep.
How's that? Any more discussion?
The question is,
Yeah.
are people walking that trip all the way around town or biking or?
No,
car riding?
we
What do you
advertise it so that people will be out on their front lawns or sidewalks as we go by. And then we stop occasionally when there's like a cluster of neighbors that have kind of gotten together and gathered with their kids. And we have little elves that jump off the trailer and distribute the books. So then we move on. In the areas that aren't heavily populated, we kind of zoom, and then we slow down when we get to neighborhoods.
Okay. Anything else? I'm careful not to say anything. There might be some kids watching. So, ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried, and good luck.
Thank you.
It looks like a great thing to do. All right, let's go back then. I skipped over public input, so let's do public input. Public input is for the public to speak on any non-agenda item, and if you would like to do that, please step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, and again, limit your time at the podium. And remember, this is only for non-agenda items. All right.
Again, Christine Burnett, 218 High Street. This has to do, and I don't want to put a damper on things, and I was going to raise hell, but I saw the police officer, so I'll keep it down. But I just wanted to read a letter that I wrote. It's regarding a snow shoveling incident that I have had, and I've only lived here 4 years, and I've never lived in a small town, so forgive me if I don't know the protocols. But last February, I went to visit my son in Cleveland. He's a police officer, so that's kind of cool. And it snowed, and I missed a shoveling on my sidewalk. And I live in the middle of High Street. Neighbors, all around, but right in the middle of High Street. I said, "Dear Elizabeth and Aaron, it was a pleasure talking to you yesterday, Elizabeth. I appreciated both your time and energy on behalf of the city. As I stated, I pay close to $5,000 a year in property taxes, which has me paying over $15,000 to date since I have been in Waupaca over 3 years. So my investment in the city is significant. I'm going to amend that and say I'm going about $20,000 now as the year is drawing to an end. I'm really happy that we're lowering taxes. As we discussed, I was not home on February 10th when a crew from the city showed up and started shoveling my sidewalk. My fiance, Nick, who's copied on this note, approached them and asked them what was going on. I clarified with him last night what had been said, and he told me that the crew said that they had a list of properties to shovel. I was wondering if there had been a specific complaint from a neighbor because my walk was the only one that was cleared by the city when there were clearly other properties that had snow covering the sidewalks on my street, one being 3 doors down from my home on the same side of the street. I received the ticket and notice of a fine. The date on the ticket is February 9th, the day before my walk was shoveled. And the date of the ticket shows February 3rd, which also led me to believe that maybe it was a complaint. You had reassured me that the crew was just out randomly selecting walks to clear. We also discussed how the code has not been enforced in the past, but that the council decided to start enforcing it this year. My problems lie in that my property was the only one on my street that was cleared. And as you can see from the other email that I sent you with pictures from last Thursday, there remain many areas of the city that had not been cleared, including some businesses. I do not like to offer complaints without solutions, so I would like to propose the following for the new activity of the code enforcement. This ticket being reduced to a warning as a first offense, and other warnings to be sent to addresses on my street and those in town that have not been shoveled. A clarification of the code, as I remember seeing some flyers in the recycling notice offer a 48-hour grace period, which I believe is more realistic for clearing both for residents in the city And the city come up with a plan to fairly enforce the code with a policy of performing all sidewalk clearing in the 48-hour period with warnings for first-time code violations and clearing all the walks on any given street at once. I believe these suggestions will place the city in a better light with the residents and make a more meaningful impact on safety and cooperation. Again, I appreciate your time, and Aaron, I hope your family is doing better. At the time your family was ill, I did not receive any response to this letter at all. I received another bill about 2 months ago for the money. And I put a copy of this letter in with the bill and sent it back to the city. And then I received an email from Jared here, and he was saying that if I received snow clearing services, that I do have to pay. And that he wanted to apologize for the confusion on the flyers. And in terms of fair and efficient enforcement, the city can look at the current process and evaluate for potential efficiency and consistency. I was all fired up about this, ever since February, blah, blah. It's only $75. It's not that big deal. It's just that there were so many sidewalks on my street. I'm in the middle, and mine was the only one that was done. And it seemed very random. Walking in here tonight and having you lower my property taxes. Then we said the Pledge of Allegiance. We talked about Christmas. Downtown looks fantastic. I'm going to write my check for $75 and just forget about it. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
You did bring up something that I think is really something that we should look at as a council, or just, and we won't be able to do it at this meeting because I don't think we're prepared, but at our next meeting, which is in December, we can talk to our council members about how we handle snow removal if it's not done within the certain amount of time, so that everybody, city council members understand, and then also the public will be able to understand that better too. So that's a good point, and I thank you for paying the bill. I'm sorry that you ended up having to be fined for that, but we are concerned about safety, obviously, in our community too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Christine, I just want to apologize. We didn't get back to you on that. Certainly wasn't intentional, but I just wanted to apologize.
That's okay. Stuff happens, Aaron. Not a big deal. Take care.
All right, let's go to department head reports. Kathy, you want to just, not budget related, but other things?
No, my report was uploaded to the website on Friday. I've gotten everything all up to date, and just a heads up that interest rates are extremely low. We are keeping whatever we have in short term. I think the longest term we have out there is 18-month CD and a couple 24-month step-up CDs. So the portfolio is in a good position to take advantage of any uptick in investments, but we are going to be having a smaller interest revenue generated this year. Other than that, the account's look in good position, so I don't have anything else other than working on budget.
Thank you, Kathy. Anybody have any questions or comments for Kathy? You've all received the letter. I don't know if Aaron's going to talk about it or not, but because it is a department head. But you did receive Kathy's letter that she is going to semi-retire, so she will not be working for the city after December 31st. And, obviously, she's been a huge asset to our community, so we appreciate everything she's done for us. She is going to be working half days for the rest of the year, so she'll make sure that we stay in line, and she's not moving very far away, so we obviously will be able to use her if we need her. So, thank you, Kathy. Let's go to another pretty soon retiree, Peg.
So yes, the library is currently waiting for the numbers to come down to a lower level. We're stalled at the very high status. I don't know if you keep track of what's happening on the Department of Public Services, the Health and Human Services website for the state, but we track that pretty carefully because we do have a plan for determining services. So when we go back to that, down to that next level, we're going to see a change in service levels and mitigation practices. So we're looking forward to Wednesdays, hopefully, fingers and toes crossed that we're lower on that scale. And then the following Wednesday, we'll be looking at some new things happening at the library. This past month, I spent quite a bit of time working on the library budget. The board did pass it, and it is in the packet tonight. I'm 3 months out from retirement. The 17th of February is my last day. So I've been working on readying the library training. The library board approved 2 interims to take my place when I'm during that transition period. So Sue Abrahamson will be your city representative from the library, and she'll be coming to these meetings and to the department head meetings. And Patsy Servey is going to be working with the library system piece. So they're kind of splitting up the duties, and I think they're going to be ready to take over, and they'll do great. So that's about all we have.
All right. Thanks, Peg. Any questions or comments for Peg? All right, let's go to our newest member then, Jarrett.
Thank you very much, Mayor. So I guess some of the big exciting highlights. So we have a lot of new development going in. So Vanity Properties, which is right downtown on Main Street, South Main Street. They have received approval for their conditional use to operate a cocktail lounge at their establishment. So they are currently working with the building inspector to complete their building needs so they can hopefully open sometime first quarter of next year. Foundations for Living out on Churchill Street also received a site plan approval from the Plan Commission at their November 3rd meeting. So that is now open. That is a warming shelter, retail. So great addition to the community, great asset to have. Toy Shed LLC, which is personal storage units. They received a conditional site plan approval, conditional on the approval of a conditional use permit by the Common Council. Starbucks, I don't know if, I'm sure all of you are coffee drinkers. So Starbucks is in the final stretch, so we do hope to see them opening soon. Keep an eye out for that. Just hoping they can find the workforce and they don't have any issues like many other businesses currently do. And also Eastgate Estates out by the airport does continue to fill up. I believe there are 10 or so lots still vacant, but they had just submitted for 4 additional this year yet. So that does continue to fill. So that's exciting. River North Subdivision. So we are starting the process of that, meeting with developers, rezoning that has to occur. So we will continue to see that coming down the pipeline. Also wanted to mention at our next Plan Commission meeting, we have our, I guess one of our city attorneys coming in to do a signage presentation. So I would invite all Common Council members, or if anyone else you know is interested in listening in, I'm sure it will be on Facebook, or feel free to attend the meeting. So that should be a great presentation, just to kind of learn more about signage codes, signage regulations, from somebody with a lot of experience in that. So I'm excited, and I welcome any of you to join if you are interested.
Thanks, Jared. Yeah, and if he didn't mention it, that will be held virtually also, so everybody will have the opportunity to tune in if you feel like sitting at home and just watching, and can even participate in that way too. So, thanks, Jared. Let's move over to our Director of Public Works, Justin.
Thank you, Mayor. My update can be seen on page 8 and 9 of the packet. I'll hit just the high points. So the wastewater side, we're getting close on our combination sewer cleaner, what we typically call a Vector truck. We don't call it a Vector truck because that's an actual model. So that has a 30 to 40 week lead time. So I'm going to try and get that here in the next, well, hopefully next month, if not first thing January. Main Street, that's open and going. We're waiting on the street lights still. Had word today that they were delayed once again to Friday is the new ship date. So not incredibly surprising.
Did they put a date on that Friday?
They said this Friday.
Okay.
We'll see. Leaf pickup is still underway. Just because it snows doesn't mean we stop. We'll still make the rounds. So if you have some leaves that are finally falling, get them off the edge. We'll come get them. Water side had several leak repairs. So even though it gets cold, leaks still spring up. It's kind of a crummy job, but we still get to it and get it done. Just a nod that any resident out there that has issue with freezing pipes, please feel free to reach out to the water utility and talk to them about what you can do to prevent freeze-ups. Facility side, we're compiling a few proposals, uniforms for public works, elevator maintenance, and garbage pickup for facilities. Just a few things should be bringing to you in the next month. Finally, Trevor Hintz, our youngest member of Public Works, celebrated his 1-year work anniversary this last month.
Good. Thanks, Justin. Anybody have any questions for Justin? All right, next up, Parks and Rec, Andrew.
Thanks, Mayor, council members. A couple updates as far as some of the grants and projects that we've been working on. Swan Park, I did send out an RFP for design and engineering of that project this last week. So we'll give them about a month to turn that in. You'll probably see something not until January as far as a recommendation as a company to work through that process for the playground and splash pad. I also signed official contracts for those 2 RTP grants that I talked about for trail work. So one is trail work at Eagle Park, one is boardwalk work at Swan Park. So those are official and signed off and working on the DNR with those. We did make a small change to our facility conditional park facility use, condition of facility use. I'll spit that out eventually here. Park Board supported adding something to it that states that we cannot drive, set up anything heavy or bounce houses or tents on actual playing areas as far as Swan Park fields or Lakeman fields, just to protect the asset that we have there. We've had some issues in the past as far as damage to those fields. We need to make sure we protect those, and Park Board supported that. We'll still continue to work with events. I think we have plenty of solution and space to be able to hold any event that wants to be held in our parks. We just are looking to protect those fields a little bit. A quick shout out and thank you again for the celebration on Main. I know the group did a lot to make that happen, that worked on that. They met again last Friday and I was not there. But it sounds like we'll be looking at doing it again next year.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's something to put out there as well. And then if you drove by Riverside Park recently, you saw some major work down there. So I've talked, it seems like forever, about, no comment, Justin, about Riverside Park being done by the DNR. They are finally back. They're doing some restoration on the side of the river, so they'll be digging out a lot, but they will be replacing that as well with riprap, logs, fish habitat, and that type of stuff. So give them some time. It'll get back to looking really nice. We'll plant some plant species along the riverbank to help stabilize that as well, and things will be looking really good down there once they're done. So if anybody has any comments about that to you guys, just have them reach out to me and I will explain that to them. That's it.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, let's go to the police department. Paul?
All right. So the Police and Fire Commission met on November 9th. During that meeting, they discussed, we just finished up our hiring process for our newest officer. His name is Paul Jensen, and he will be starting December 6th. He comes to us from the Waupaca County Sheriff's Department, where he's a dispatcher. He has been there. He's a sergeant in the dispatch center and a field training officer in the dispatch center. So he will be a valuable asset to our department. Also discuss the updating of the general order for promotion, for a promotional process. We received $1,950 for a bulletproof vest grant, which we do yearly. And basically what that grant is, it's called the Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Partnership. And what it is they will match 50% of the cost of the bulletproof vests, which each officer gets replaced every 5 years, give or take. With that grant, there's been $522 million in federal funds distributed to 13,000 jurisdictions over the years. So really good program. We did drug take back on October 23rd, and 46.5 pounds of prescription medications were turned over to the police department for secure disposal. So another really good program. And our new squad is completed and is on the road as of this week. So we have the Chevy Tahoe now, and that's all we have.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
My update too.
Let's go to our IT specialist, Josh.
Speaking of that new squad, I worked on getting all the IT equipment set up in there, and then we've got the equipment ordered for the next 2 new squads, which will probably be in service in the next couple months here. We've been working on our software implementation for our permit and licensing software. It's moving along slowly. I guess some issues with the company we're working with. I think they're having some staffing issues, just like everyone, so it's been a little bit slower than we've desired. But it seems like they're kind of kicking back into gear with us. We've been communicating with the county on the tower project. It's now kind of estimated the towers will probably be up by the end of the year. They're actively working on the different sites. The towers are there, and they've been working on foundations. So we're anticipating probably, early next spring, really getting into getting a lot of them equipped, because that's hard to do in the winter. We've kind of got half the equipment ordered and most of it here. So when we're able to get started, we're ready to go. Community media side of things, we've wrapped up the Main Street updates, wrapped up working with Winchester on the fall series, and then I attended the Wisconsin Community Media fall seminar a couple weeks ago. There were a couple good workshops as part of that. And that's my update.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Josh. Chief. Sandy?
Thank you, Mayor Smith. My report can be found on pages 22 and 23. And in my report, I describe the process that the Wisconsin Election Commission is providing for election voter cleanup within the state. And I just want you to know that my office has been working diligently, and we're just making our voter records as accurate and current as possible, and we'll be ready for the upcoming 22 election cycle. And also, on the alderperson's desks that will be on the ballot in April, we did put packets, give you packets, so that you can start collecting signatures, but not until December 1st. And you're required to receive to get not less than 20, but not more than 40. And as far as the mayor, it's not less than 50 nor more than 100. January 4th of 2022 at 5 p.m. is the deadline to file your papers in the clerk's office. And if there's any incumbent that wishes to not run and file a declaration of non-candidacy, that would be due December 24th at noon. Excuse me, at 5. At 5. So that's it. That's my report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sandy. Or should I call you Grandma?
Call me Grandma.
There we go. Yeah. New grandmother. Yeah. Aaron, you want to go?
Yes, sir. All right, let's pull it up. All right, as Sandy mentioned earlier, my report was uploaded to your packet. And as Mayor mentioned before, we've received a resignation from Kathy as she looks to move to a part-time position, and it is a good situation from a transition standpoint that she's able to work with the city half-time, half-days until we hopefully fill that position. We posted it internally. I'm sure a lot of you saw that on Monday of this week. That will, per our employee handbook, that has to be posted for 7 days. and then we will post it externally on all of the associations that you see there, LinkedIn, social media, so on and so forth. So we look forward to working through that. We'll be in touch as we work through that process. Kathy, I know Mayor said it, but thank you as well. Update on River North neighborhood. Jared stole my thunder a little bit on this too. Everyone's just kind of stealing my thunder on things. But the only thing I'll mention is another conversation we've been having. We have a guest here tonight from Mosaic Property Ventures. We'll talk about that a little later in the meeting, looking at applying for a Wida tax credit project, and we have some things we have to do from a city's end to even make that a possibility. One of those things will be tonight with an option to purchase. Main Street grand opening, Halloween event went fantastic. We had a debriefing. We are going to do it next year again. And we're going to look to add some things to it as well. We've already started talking about that. We'll have meetings periodically throughout the winter and spring to prepare. All staff luncheon, this is something that I would encourage if you have some time, any elected officials to come to Wednesday, December 8th. We're going to do an all staff luncheon. I said right here it's going to be in the old HFH building. We decided to move it coming into the holiday season. That HFH building could be tight, so just to spread people out, we're going to hold it in the rec center just to be safe. So noon is for sure we're going to have something at noon. We'll probably split it into two sessions or sections. As we talked about this morning at a department head meeting, I will be in touch with details. We will look to communicate a few things to staff and just celebrate some of the things that happened this year during that. Grant submissions, I did forward you a grant report from Greg Groman, who has been working hard, had a few big deadlines last week. One of those big deadlines was for infrastructure improvements in the River North area subdivision or neighborhood area, totaling over $2 million worth of infrastructure for phase one. So we hope to hear back soon on that. And then another thing we've been working on, it was in my work plan at the beginning of the year, been working, we're paying attention to it specifically over the last month, and not alone, but with the help of our department heads as we work through we call it our dream team meetings, but also our employee retention meetings. I heard from Jared, the challenges with workforce shortages. We're paying attention to it ourselves. We're kind of coining our conversations employee retention committee or employee retention conversations, and our employee rewards program that we're working on. We talked again about this morning, working towards a draft that we'll share with employees and then eventually come to council to see if we can get your guys' support and approval on that. So expect to see that sometime soon. And just a list of my recent events there at the bottom. And the only other note, I think I had in my newsletter, but I'll say it here too, as it pertains to the garbage service that's going to start at the beginning of the year. We did find out that the CDBG CV Housing Assistance Program, in which Greg got that grant for, that's administered through CAP Services, since garbage is on the utility, for those who cannot afford it, they can apply for utility assistance, which would include that garbage service for the time that we have that grant, which is through 2024 currently. So that's all, Mayor.
Thanks, Aaron. Anybody have any questions or comments for Aaron? All right, let's move into new business. We took care of small letter A. Let's go to B, and this will go back to Aaron. This is the First Amendment to the land lease agreement between the City of Waupaca and SBA Towers 2 LLC.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. In your packet on page 59, you'll see a memo from me regarding this item. A couple months ago, we had been reached out to from SBA Communications, who purchased a tower on Mount Tom years ago, and they wanted to add something to help support their services at that tower. We found out when we went through the site plan process that the generator that they were proposing to add was actually outside of the leased area, and so was one of the items that they had proposed years ago. It actually got placed in a different location. So before we were able to approve the site plan, we reached back out to them and just said, hey, we have some cleanup to do here from the land lease area. They paid for all of that work. They did survey work. They redefined the area. We looked back at our old contract. When we entered into the contract 12 plus years ago, it did state that they would be allowed to expand that area at no additional cost to help their operations when needed. Our rent on that tower is tied to the amount of tenants they have, plus a little escalator every 5 years, which I've outlined in that summary. Kathy and I checked, and we confirmed that they are paying their appropriate rent at this time, so nothing needs to be adjusted there. It was really just a administrative cleanup, which they have done. So you can see here in the attachment, the original land lease, the amendment to the land lease that speaks to the newly defined area. I believe there's a exhibit with the map as well. So we'd be looking for council to approve the amendment to that land lease showing the new expanded leased area for SBA communications.
I would make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second.
A motion by Hagan, second by Chestnut, that we approve the agreement with SBA Towers LLC with the recommendations that are in your packet. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. The hand up mean you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were, that's okay. Is there anything underground there? Do we know that there's anything underground where they're talking about, you're expanding an area? My question is if there's anything underground.
No, Colin, nothing underground. We did check for our operations in the future, and it doesn't negatively impact anything that we're going to do in the future.
Okay.
Nothing underground.
Okay. Sandy, you want to call the roll?
Sure.
Thanks.
Colin Dykstra,
Approve, aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keelan,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, we have, as it's worded in your packet, option to purchase property for a potential Wida tax credit project. And this is what Aaron was talking about with Mosaic Development. And so, Aaron, you want to set this up for us?
Yep. Thanks again, Mayor. On page 90 of your packet, you will see an option to purchase contract between the City of Waupaca and Mosaic Development. This option to purchase is for the property directly north of Fox Valley Area Technical College. One thing we learned that actually at one point Fox Valley Area Technical College had a right of first refusal on this property. That expired in 2012. I did touch base with Paul Schroed, the director over there. He said that they do not have any, would not have any need for this in the future for expansion. So that was the only kind of encumbrance that existed at one point. So Mosaic was one of the development teams that we interviewed through the River North process, and one of their niches is Wida tax credit projects, workforce housing, and that's probably one of the best ways to get to that workforce housing result, which is mentioned in our strategic plan over and over, as we've seen some of the trends in our housing market, not only in the city but the area. It probably has become more of a need than less over the last few years. And we see this as a great opportunity to partner with someone who has experience in it and at least get an application in to see if we can get a project in Waupaca. Now, the important things in this agreement, I guess, to keep an eye on is that the option to purchase would expire in May of 2022, which they would have heard by that point if they got the tax credits. So it's contingent upon getting the tax credits. If they do not get the tax credits, it will revert back to the city, or they will not have that option any longer. And we can work with any other developers in the future if other developers have interest in that. And when we put, I guess the other thing I'll mention, as we put tax credit projects together, there are multiple funds that could go into that to make that project doable. Right now, we are looking at that property being purchased for $1. But this is an option to purchase. We would revisit it if we got the tax credits, and that's what we're asking for approval of tonight. And this will help them apply for this on the December 12th deadline? 10th, December 10th. Yeah, good question. Would you like to say anything about the project?
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I didn't have anything really specifically prepared, and I can go down this rabbit hole on what WIDA tax credits are if you want, or talk a little bit more about the process too. We got the request for qualifications, and we're really excited about it. I had talked to Aaron a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, about doing a project, but every 2 years, WIDA actually puts forth a qualified plan, and that plan sort of shows how you can be competitive or not for these funds. It's a very scarce resource that's allocated every year, but the plan is every 2 years. And 2 years ago, well, it was really a year ago, the plan just did not look in Waupaca's favor. It just was not going to competitively score when compared to other municipalities. But every so many years, when a municipality hasn't had a project for a while, they get extra points. And it just so happens this year, Waupaca County is one of those counties. So we thought we would be competitive, and it would be worth looking at putting in an application. It is, we'll prepare a market study for the application. The request for qualifications was timely in that it was before the applications were due, but really quick turnaround. So we're going to put together a market study. We'll put together a full application packet to WIDA. You do have to show that you have site control for the property that you're applying for the housing on up until the time when they've announced. So that is the reason for the request for the option. And the plan right now is to build 45 units. It'd be cottage style, which is single-story, individual entry and attached garage in buildings of, let's say, 8 units to 10 units. And it'll be lower density, so that will be good. And I can answer any questions that you might have as well.
Anybody have any questions?
And I'll be here if it comes up during discussion as well. So thank you
right.
for the opportunity.
Thank you, Marissa. Okay, so what we're looking for is for an option to purchase property, so we'd be looking for a motion to approve that option to purchase, which is on page 50, or 90, I'm sorry, 90 of your packet. That continues on there. Anybody would like to make a motion, or?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Martin, that we approve the option to purchase property for a potential WIDA tax credit project with Mosaic Development. Any discussion?
Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd just like to say I think this is such a great opportunity for us to be looking at that and serving our people.
Thanks. Go ahead, Scott.
I guess, Aaron, how does this impact the rest of the new North, or what are we calling it? I guess project that we're going to have. Is it?
We can't use New North. It's already been used.
Yeah.
Oh, well, whatever.
We got to use River.
River North. Sorry.
Yeah.
So if you look at your screen, Scott, this is our concept plan, just as a reminder. So this actually was designated in our concept plan as a multifamily area anyway, so it kind of fits in perfect. So yeah, that's probably as best as I can answer that.
Good. Thanks.
Yeah, it fits in perfect.
All right.
That's the best answer right there. So, anybody else? Sandy, you want to call the roll?
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, thanks. Marissa, good luck.
Thank you.
Next up, we have, this is Resolution 1497, 2021. It's a resolution designating appropriations and levying a tax for the 2022 budget of the city of Waupaca. So basically, we're putting forth a budget for our next year, and I'll turn it over to Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I handed out a packet of all of the funds that were in the public hearing, in addition to the separate sheet for the new refuse fund. Nothing has changed from the October 19th meeting. As far as the city's concerned, there is no increase in the group health insurance rates. There's a slight decrease in Wisconsin retirement contribution rates. We are looking at a 2% cost of living increase for city employees across the board. Adjustments in staff were utility billing clerk full-time, some adjustments to the classification in the Public Works Department, and the addition of Andrew Dane continuing in the community development for the grant. We are looking at a tax levy increase in accordance with the levy limit program of $41,767. And we had an increase in general transportation aids because we are investing in our roads, and we've been rewarded with additional $55,368. And we're increasing because of the building in the area, estimate for revenue for building permit fees. Over the last couple of weeks, we did receive the levies for Waupaca County, Waupaca School District, and the Fox Valley Technical College. In your packet on the first page, the green highlighted numbers are the numbers that will not be released by the state until the school levy credit and the first dollar and the lottery credit not until November 19th. So the bills could go down some more than the $1.03, but until I get those numbers, it's still just the gross levy rate that's available. On the next page in the packet is the comparison of the levy to last year's, and it shows that everything's going down except for the inland lakes, and that just has to do with the assessed rate and the amount of the TIF increment. We'll just kind of move that by a penny up or down. So you're looking at a gross levy mill rate of $26 from $27.02. And like I said, we'll have some more information at the end of the week when the state releases more numbers. The next page is just, again, the tax summary of the rate that has been over the last 5 years. The average on a $100,000 home over the last 10 years has been about $2,600. So our rate, excuse me, the tax bill for a $100,000 home prior to the credits is going down to about $200 from the average. So we are in a good position. Continue to be able to provide a lower tax rate for our residents. Then after that is all of the funds, the general fund. Again, we have a contingency number that we use to do the expenditure restraint program. This year, because of inflation, we were allowed to go up by 4.2% in our operating, less the debt service levy transfer out. So that has kind of been the plug number that we use to remain compliant with the expenditure restraint program, which is about $135,000 worth of aid each year. So I want to make sure that we don't lose it and just make sure our budget is up to the amount that we're allowed. Otherwise, the biggest change in these budgets for the general fund is the EMS and fire department, and that has to do with the reduction. Sorry, with the reduction in Gold Cross's rate. Remember last year, because of the pandemic, they raised our rate to cover their revenue shortage. This year, they've brought the rate back down, so we're seeing the difference again in that rate. And also, the fire department rate did not go up that much. The youth and recreation centers, that has to do with Park and Rec making adjustments to some of their building costs. We're seeing, as we're maintaining our building over there and updating the equipment, we're seeing some savings in electricity and heating and air conditioning. So that's the general fund. Hotel Motel Fund is our collection of the 8% room tax and transfers to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and transfer to this general fund is going to be about $73,500. Again, we created that taxing district with the town of Farmington and the town of Dayton, and are sharing in with the reporting and the revenues that are generated by the Airbnbs. So this should start generating some more. We've seen a big uptick in the amount that is being collected in room tax going forward. The airport fund, again, is the operations of the municipal airport. We're providing a little increase in the amount of tax levy support. This will help with covering management and increase snow plowing possible costs with the contract, and the fluctuation with gas prices. So, but it's a fund that generates and stays pretty stable. The next one is the Transit Fund, and I will be bringing the 2022 taxi grant from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation to the December 7th meeting. We're again applying for 5311 and 8552 state funds to operate the Waupaca taxi. We're seeing that the federal government has definitely stepped up in providing more funds for rural transportation. So this fund is in good position going forward for next year. The library fund, again, we're providing the same amount of tax levy, and they're seeing a just decrease in their share from the owls in the county, and PEG has put in increases to cover the costs for her retirement and the transition for next year. So that's the library fund. The Adult Recreation Program Fund is a self-supporting fund. Whatever it generates, it creates, it covers its cost for providing the adult programs. So this fund, even though with COVID, was able to maintain a positive cash balance and continue to move forward for next year. The Youth Program Fund is the fund for youth programs and is supported by the town of Waupaca, town of Dayton, the town of Farmington, and the city. And fees collected for the programs, and we are going to be distributing the 2020 remainder in the next at the end of this year, so that 37 $800 will be distributed back to each of the communities that provided funding for last year. And then we'll do it again after the audit's done for 2021. If there's any funds left over, we'll see that go back. But we're maintaining the same amount of levy support and providing the programs. Hopefully, we'll see more revenues and participation in the future. Debt service fund. This is the fund that we use to pay our outstanding debt. We have, because of our last bond proceeds, received a premium, so we bought down the levy an additional $20,000. And so we've only are going to be levying just over $1 million, but we're going to be paying off about $2.5 million worth of levy. And part of that is going to be the buy down. When I come to the December 7th meeting, R.W. Baird, our financial advisors, will be providing you with more information on how we're looking at the 2022 debt issuance, and to make sure that we maintain our very strict debt service policy, where we are a little bit more stricter than the state as to how much outstanding debt we can have out there. But we're looking at buying down our 2018 issue and retiring some other debt when I get to the TIF districts. But we're looking at this fund being in a good position next year to lower the debt service levy. Capital Projects Fund. This one I am looking for some direction. We have here $1 million, and I'm for the budget. I am only showing you in this fund what the $1.5 million that we're planning on borrowing for 2022, and the projects that we are looking from the departments to purchase. So on the next page, we have a list of projects for 2022, and we have moved some stuff around and made sure that we are within the $1.5 million that we're looking for borrowing next year. Just to remind you that we have already purchased the $136,000 worth of squad cars for 22, and we need to make sure that we borrow for those and reimburse ourselves. We also have the contract with the architect, Justin, for the Public Works Garage, that we need to make sure that we borrow the $110,000 to finish paying off that project. The 2023 borrow will include the Public Works Garage and the splash pad, the city share of the splash pad and playground at Swan Park. I just want to remind the council that if you move forward with doing a contract for the design and the engineering, that you will be asking to be reimbursed with 2023 bond issue money. So you will have to make sure that you do borrow to pay yourself back if you prepay yourself. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware. We did make some adjustments to the High and Harrison Street project. Justin has moved some costs down. But this is a project list that the departments have given me to project out so that we stay within our debt service levy requirements and make sure that our levy for debt service is reasonable going forward and being able to maintain our projects going each year. So that's capital projects. So if anybody has any questions, remember that projects have to come to you for approval before they can be purchased. So look at, kind of watch the capital project plan to make sure that those projects are coming forward. TIF districts. I'm not going to see this, but TIFs 3 and 6 and 9 are going to be on the December 7th meeting as a resolution to call the debt for TIF 3 and pay it off so that we can close TIF 3, 6, and 9 in January and put almost $40 million of increment back on the tax roll for all jurisdictions. So you guys have seen the TIF districts each year. Again, the projections are in to keep TIF 4 and 8 open till the end to pay back the water, sewer, and the debt service fund. So I've got a plan for you to follow. And then TIF 10 has some projections out there that if there is a project that you could still do it by 2023 when the expenditure period ends for TIF 10. But those are the TIFs. And they're in a really good position for you for the future. The water utility. The water utility has a few capital outlay projects. I believe High and Harrison has some water, Justin?
Yes.
So one of the things that the auditors have brought up with the 2020 audit is that we should be looking at probably a simple rate case, which would be 3%, to make sure that our rates stay in line with the amount of debt that we're taking to do all these water mains that we're doing. So there may be, in the future next year, a need to go for a simplified rate case. And once all of the meters have been replaced, a full rate case should be looked at to bring all of the new meter costs within the tariff. The sewer utility is not looking for any rate increase and is in good position. Again, these funds will probably start seeing in 2023 and 2024 the payback of the advances that were given to TIF 8. So the sewer utility has some capital outlay projects, but they're in a good position going forward to continue their operations. Online is with the expansion of the county and the ARPA funds for broadband and infrastructure has been another one. The feds are looking at getting high-speed internet to rural areas. So I would see probably some more grants available, and we are looking at just keeping up with what we have for online and expanding the service. And then I did add the Waupaca Lake City Lake District and just rehash of the levy that's actually $10,000 and the costs that are associated with that. The separate sheet I gave you was the new refuse fund for your garbage collection. This is the brand new fund. This is accounting for the charges for services, the cost of administration and contract services. So it's a fund that's starting out at $287,040 with no tax levy support. And that, with your levy in the resolution, is your 2022 budget.
Thank you, Kathy. So as we look at the budget, the second page of her handout, if you can see what's highlighted there. Basically, what we would be approving is, if you're okay, we would be approving the amount that's being levied for the city of Waupaca. The other information, obviously, that has to do with the Waupaca County, and we would also be approving the inland lakes. I'm sorry, so it would be the city and the inland lakes. But the other ones are just for informational purposes, just to show what the total levy is for a taxpayers, and then also what our anticipated mill rate would be before the first dollar credit and the lottery credit that's on there. So Kathy went through this fairly quickly for you guys, and she's been working hard to put all this together for you. I'm just wondering if we have any specific questions that anybody has.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
Okay. So on the very first sheet, the highlighted Waupaca, so it's a tax rate calculation worksheet. And the tax rate is $9.90 for the city of Waupaca.
Right.
And then on the second to last sheet, the tax rate calculation worksheet, it says
that was an older one that had a different tax increment. I'm sorry, I didn't update that one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna just.
You're just going
I have a
to
red pen.
rest on the city of Waupaca, and the rate that's on the calculation sheets includes the TIF increment. So the resolution is what the tax levy is, which is $3,341,887. But with the TIF districts, each taxing district gets a share of that tax increment, which is $2,003,574.
Repeat that levy amount then without the TIF?
Without the TIF levy, the resolution that's in the packet is $3,341,887. But when everybody sees their tax bill, they see it with the overlay of the TIF increment.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just looking at the total assessed value, and it's gone up about 2% from the prior year by $8 million. Is that primarily new development, or is that assessed values being increased?
No, it's new. It's new value because we have not done a reval, and that's the only way that you would get. The reval would give you everybody across the board a new value, and that's when it happens. So this $7 million, almost $8 million, is due to the Foundries and Gusmer's additions and the single-family homes that came on board. and all the building. So I can add in the put on the website in the packet the information of each of the sectors that did go up on the assessed value.
Good. Anybody else? Hey, Paul, I'm sorry.
When we were talking about the debt service fund, you mentioned buying down previous debt instruments. Is that correct?
Pardon, you want to say that again?
When we were talking about the debt service fund, you mentioned buying down previous debt instruments that we had.
Yep.
So, I thought you said you mentioned that we got a premium on what we were currently doing. Is that correct?
We received a premium of over $200,000 on our 2020 debt.
Okay.
So what happened was they paid more to get the interest rate.
Okay.
So we got to keep that money, and so we used that to help in buying down the levy amount. But we do have a payback when we are closing TIF 3s and 6 that had gotten an advance from the debt service fund when they didn't have levy increment to pay their debt service. Those two TIFs have enough increment to, when they close, to pay the $1.5 million back to the taxpayers. And that's my recommendation, and with Baird, is so that we keep our outstanding debt below our policy, so that we can issue the debt for the $1.5 million for 2022, the $1.5 million for 2023's project, and the $6.9 million for the Public Works Garage. Okay. So by doing that buy down, you're keeping in policy, but you're also using it to pay your debt off faster.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good. Anybody else? Go ahead.
What's the amount of the city's outstanding debt?
Last year, I believe it was.
You have to use your microphone, please.
What's the amount of the city's outstanding debt?
Last year, it was $11 million.
Thank you.
And that, I want to clarify that. That also, because that's GO debt, and that's general obligation debt, and that's supported by tax levy. And that also includes the TIF debt. That's just not our project debt. So the total of $11 million is just the GO debt. It includes TIF. Okay.
Scott, go ahead.
Kathy, you got on there, when we close these TIFs, 3, 6, and 9, we probably will put 43 million maybe back on the tax rolls. Now, just give me a quick, that should do a lot of good for next year's scenario, wouldn't it, or in years to come, by adding that much increment as far as, mill rates and such?
Yes, it will. It should reduce your levy by about $2, your mill rate by about $2. But that's if the other jurisdictions in the city do not raise the levy more than than they need.
Yeah.
So, but that's one of those things that the levy limit law does have some formulas in there that you don't get the full amount of your increment, so you can't just all get it. But it should do something with your rate. Also with the fact that we are on our second year being under 90% assessed to equalize, so we will have a reval. So that will shuffle the deck and spread the assessment across the board equally again, and should lower the mill rate again. So there's some things in the future that, are good because the rate should start coming down.
Great, thanks. Good news.
Anybody else? Kathy, you want to, or maybe Aaron, do you want to just touch on the 3, 6, and 9 again? As far as the TIF and how important that is to close that out, not only from the percentage amount, but also what that will help us in the future with.
I can touch base on how it relates to a project that we've been talking about a lot lately. So closing 3, 6, and 9 gets us under the 12%. And not only does that help with future mill rates potentially, as Kathy mentioned, but it also allows us, if we feel like it is in the city's best interest, to create another TIF. And that TIF that we've been having a conversation on possibly creating would be a little different than our past TIFs that we created 20 years ago, in the fact that it would have residential built into the plan in its allowances to help support. And that's, of course, the River North neighborhood. As we work with the developers, as we talk about the options to purchase all of that, we have a lot of things going for us. We have the fact that we have site control over there, so we can discount land purchases. We have grants coming in at a rate that we haven't seen in a long time, or grant opportunities, and we have a grant writer to take advantage of some of those. But we also know that to make some of these projects work, especially when we're talking affordable housing type projects, TIF is a piece of that as well. So as we look to close, you can expect us to have a conversation around potentially opening a TIF in the River North area.
And just to touch on the TIF without getting into a lot of detail on the TIF, the TIF district that we'd be talking about, it has zero value right now because the city owns that property. So we are not taking anything away from any of the other taxing authorities by starting this TIF. What we're really doing is helping them to build increment throughout the city, but then that would mean throughout the county and the school district too. So, I mean, it would be a win situation with this. Again, I'm getting away from the budget a little bit, but I think you can see the importance of being able to close those 3 TIFs, even maybe a little, well, quite a bit quicker than we originally thought we were going to. So that's really good news.
Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I'd like to recommend that council approve, I'd like to move that council approve resolution number 1497, 2021 as presented.
I'll second it.
Here we have a motion by Paul Mayo, a second by Paul Hagan, that we approve resolution number 1497, which is basically a total city tax levy of $3,341,897.87. Any further discussion? Not to muddy the waters a little bit, but I feel it's important that we give you a little bit full disclosure here, and Kathy touched on it, and hopefully you all caught it. But so the splash pad, the intention is that the splash pad will, again, they met their goal of getting the grant money and their donations, or they're close to obtaining their goal. And so that project will start in 2022, but we are not going to be borrowing the money, our half of the money for that splash pad, until 2023. So if you see that we're doing the project in 2022 and you see that the borrow is in 23, that's intentional, okay? And we're going to use cash reserves to pay for it, and then borrow the money to pay back the cash reserves, so that we stay within our percentage. So again, I just want to give you full disclosure. You have to approve all of this before it happens, but that's the intention of the mayor's office and city staff on this project, and all of the projects, really. Okay, so we have a motion to approve resolution 1497 on the table. Any other discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Colin Dykstra.
Approve.
Lori Chestnut.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
Mary Fair.
Aye.
And Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, the motion carried.
Kathy, thank you. All right, next up, we have a crop agreement for years 2022 through 26. This is between the city of Waupaca and Kathy Nichols, VN Grain Farms LLC. And Justin, you're up on this one.
Thank you, Mayor. The memo starts on page 95 with exhibits for this, what we'll be talking about on 102 and 103. So right now we have a cropping agreement that is around the airport, about 127 acres. It's going to expire at the end of the year, so we went out and sought new proposals, sent it to over a dozen local farmers, advertised in the paper, and we received two back, which are shown in the first page of the packet, Brian Long and Kathy Nickel. As you can see, Kathy Nickel provided a better lease price. So it's our land, they farm it, they pay a lease back to us. I changed the current agreement's 10 years, changing that to a 5-year with an option in the 5th year to mutually agree to extend it another 5. The reason for that is the previous agreement right now, we're only getting about $3,600 a year for this lease. With the best proposal here from Kathy Nickel, we'll be getting $10,795 a year. So in 5 years, we'll increase our revenue by $35,000. So to keep better track of, I guess, rates and what we should be getting, that's why I'm changing that from the previous one. But behind the memo is the proposal that Ms. Nichols supplied and also the proposal form. And then behind that is the actual agreement, which is already signed by Ms. Nickel. So tonight I'm looking for you to approve this for another 5 years.
All right, any questions?
I make
Anybody
a
wanna
motion
make
to
a
approve.
motion? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion by Paul Hagan, second by, was it Alan? I'm sorry, Alan Keelan, to approve this agreement with Kathy Nichols, VN Farms LLC, for a 5-year period. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
Lori Chestnut.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
Mary Fair.
Aye.
And Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Should I keep
All right.
rolling?
I'm sorry, what?
Should I keep rolling?
You keep rolling, yeah, will you?
Page 103 of the packet is Resolution 1495. This is supporting snow fighters Appreciation Day. So this is a nod to our crew that clears the streets every time the snow falls. Many times they get it done before anybody wakes up and starts their day. Now that's a convenience, that's a service. It's also a safety and an economic impact back to our city. So I put this resolution in every year to commemorate the guys that are plowing snow, clearing snow on our staff, both Park and Rec and Public Works. And of course, thank them, as it's a 24/7 hour job. Whenever it falls, we got to go get it. So there is an impact to their families at home, and then most certainly to our community doing our job. So the resolution just declares today as Snow Fighter Appreciation Day.
All right, thank you. We're looking for a motion just to approve this resolution so we can place it on file.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Chestnut, second by Martin, that we approve the resolution 1495, a resolution supporting snow fighters Appreciation Day. Any discussion on that? Anybody disagree with it? I can't think you can.
Ms. Burnett
just-
might.
Go ahead.
I just have to say,
Right.
every year I become more appreciative because I always think of one of the snow snowplow drivers backing down that awful hill, going down from Union Street to the woods in that area, and watching that out the window and watching him line up is an experience I get at 5:30 in the morning. And I don't let my breath out until I actually see that go around the corner. But I appreciate that they all are out, and every time I go to work, the roads are plowed.
Thank you.
Mayor, I do have to relay a quick story here. We had someone book our Airbnb for January, and she asked 2 questions here. And she asked, do we plow our streets and do we have a grocery store? I was able to answer yes to both of those.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not even going to ask where she's from.
I'm sorry, didn't I say San Diego?
Oh, okay. All right, we're looking for a vote then. Sandy,
Yep.
want to call the roll?
Sure. Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
Lori Chestnut.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
Mary Fair.
Aye.
And Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, still the Justin Barron Show.
That's right. The next one, page 104, deals with the Foxfire Subdivision Groundwater Study. So about 17 months ago, council, you approved going in contract with Strand Associates to look into the groundwater issue that was occurring out there and the constant running of sump pumps from the residential homes in that subdivision. Since that initiation, we installed 6 monitoring wells and 1 level auger within the pond. What those did was there was a little device in there that continuously monitored the level of water, whether it was groundwater, surface water, and the engineers came up quarterly to collect that data. That went on for 12 months. At about 1 hour increments was a reading. We also collected sump pump running times and data from the residents, so we asked them to track that for us, write it down. We gave them sheets. We got those back and compared that to the information from the data loggers. And then we also did a survey out there to survey our storm sewer system. So putting all this together, Strand put together a final report in October. We took that report, mailed it to the residents out there, and basically what well, it's included in the packet here. If you'd like a copy, I can email it or print one out for you. I'll hit the cliff notes on it. Was basically the groundwater out there is highly influenced by the weather, and specifically in that area of the pond, as it rains, it fills the pond up. The water has to go somewhere. It pushes out into the localized groundwater level and then pushes up against the basement foundation walls. And that's why the sumps were turning on, not just seasonally, but quite a bit. If I could have you bounce forward to page 118, please, Aaron. So this is a graph that is in the report. All these squiggly lines are groundwater or surface level from those data loggers. The orange is the pond. So as we can see, most of the time the pond is higher than the localized groundwater. The black dashed lines are rain events, so the steeper, taller the line is, the more rain that fell. And you can see there is a correlation that the more it rains, the higher the pond gets. There is a note that dashed line that's horizontal, that was identified that's when we saw from the residents where their sump pumps turned on, where they noted that or they mentioned that it came on. So what we decided on after reviewing all this and discussing it is if we could keep the pond at that level and no higher, we should help control the sump pumps from turning on and groundwater pushing up against the foundation walls. Now, you're probably asking, are we going to lower the pond level? Well, yes and no. For a majority of the year, no. During the rainy periods, yes. So basically, what we want to do is control the pond levels from reaching that critical point, and then we should reduce that issue. Please jump ahead to 131, Aaron. So we happen to have this storm sewer outlet that leads, our manhole is in the sidewalk there on the east. It is actually pitched to the pond. I believe it was installed to be an overflow pipe. It is not acting as an overflow pipe. So the plan is to go in there, dig down, find that existing pipe, and relay it to act as a true as an overflow pipe. The way we're able to do this is where it connects into our manhole, it is higher than the bottom and higher than the normal or even that pond level that we're looking for. So we're able to, once we dig down, reset that pipe and lower that in that manhole and then run that flat across. We should be able to accomplish that, staying all within the right of way. And once we do that, basically control that pond level so it does not exceed that critical elevation that was identified by Strand. So once we came to this conclusion, came up with this plan, I put out an RFP for a contractor to do this work. That was advertised in October, recently received just one back. It's from Fulks Brothers, which we all know is local here. Being that it's just one is not a concern because we know Fulks Brothers. We work with them all the time. We can trust them. They do very good work. The proposal was $31,200. I mocked up an estimate before this, and I came up with 35. So I feel very confident that this is a good number. Obviously, they're a good company. So going, if I may, back to my memo on 105, looking for recommendation to go in a contract with Fulks Brothers. I would like to add a $5,000 contingency because in that bid, we do not have dewatering in there. Now we're going to try and get this done during a dry period. We're going to try and get it done without dewatering. And I didn't want that in the bid because I didn't want, if we don't have to use it, let's not use it. So I'd like to ask that for a contingency for worst case scenario. And obviously if Fulks does not need to use it, we won't use it. So I'd like to throw that in there. Then finally, the award and then the funding would come out of that TIF, this being the last year that we can have expenditure out of it.
Okay. And that's a healthy TIF also, right, Kathy? Yep. Okay, so the request is, you've listened to Justin, so I won't continue that, but the request is up to $36,200 and to contract with Fox Brothers to do the project. Anybody like to make a motion?
So move.
Motion by Dave Pete. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Paul Hagan. That we approve the request to enter into an agreement with Fox Brothers Construction for an amount not to exceed $36,200 with the payment coming out of TIF number 6 funds. Anything else? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Go ahead.
I was interested in your graph and the meaning of it. And my question was, your explanation was that the pond filled up, the water percolated to the people's basements, and then that caused the problem. I guess the other marks are wells. I guess what I was wondering is, I would think there'd be some sort of delay between, I assume there's a marker at the pond and another one farther away and another one farther away, and there'd be some sort of delay if what they're saying is the actual, or if the water's coming straight down at the same time and getting there, it would be more consistent like that. Does that question make any sense?
Yes, so water moves through soil slowly. It collects in the ponds quickly because it's a low point. So when you get 3 inches of rain and a half acre goes into a small reservoir, it fills that up quickly. And then it slowly discharges through the groundwater. They had other figures in there showing groundwater contours, which shows you which way the groundwater is sloping. So if we can control that groundwater or the pond level from getting way up here, then that goes out to the homes, the residential homes this way. If we can keep it down here and down here, we should stay underneath the foundation walls.
That's what that, to me, I think the way I understood the graph, there'd be delays, like jogs in the values of this as the water percolated over. But anyway, I just hope it works, I guess was my point. We don't have to bother any more time here.
We feel it will.
All right, good enough.
It's the best option.
Okay. You're still on?
Oh, shoot. I lost my spot. Last but not least, 135, talking about our future public works facility and getting a construction manager on board, so construction management at risk. So the background, I have a page on that. I'll go through that word for word. Just kidding. We purchased the property at Habercorn with the intent of building a facility. We've done a number of things out there, a survey. We put up our salt shed. We brought on board Barry Entos as an architect. We have seen the need to bring on a construction manager now, mainly from what we've seen in the industry, such as lead times and bid pricing. So instead of going from a design bid process where we're holding our breath on bid day, we want somebody at the table to help guide us with our project as far as estimates and materials and getting that locked in months in advance, which is basically the pivot and the reason why we wanted to go through this process. So much like bringing on an architect or the architect, the group, I put out an RFP seeking proposals, gathered 9 proposals, which is shown on the table later on, shared that information with the group, all reviewed based on qualifications and cost. We narrowed it down to 4, which was Ellis, Myron, Immel, and Samuels. The group met and we reviewed. Scoring's on the far right. As you can see, Myron was the top as far as scoring, so that's cost and quality concerned. And then the cost-wise, Myron was at the bottom. So the group made a unanimous decision to just move forward with Myron. Besides that, the things that really popped out, looking at their examples, they had Calumet County Highway Facility. That's a facility that myself, Roger, Jake, and Russ toured. Saw a lot of great things there, really liked. Waupaca County Highway Department facility, a fantastic building. I mean, what can you say bad about that building? Menasha Public Works Facility was a building we wanted to tour, but the pandemic got in the way. But it's about almost the exact same size in operations that we run. And then the Village of Little Chute, which is a facility we toured like 3 years ago that we really liked. And those were the top 4 examples that Myron provided in their proposal. Then, moving on to cost, they were very cost effective. And as a nod, they have made a gesture not to charge any of their services during the pre-construction part. So we won't see a bill from Myron until we actually break ground. They're local. They're 30 minutes to the east on Highway 10. They have shown they've shown that they really want to work with us. They love this area. They've shown high quality projects in the past locally. And I'm going to turn it over to the 2 gentlemen here, let them go through an introduction. After they're done, we'll move back to an action. Yes. So, Paul.
All right, Dan and Paul, do you guys want to just introduce yourselves, please? And Aaron, can you get that screen up?
Good evening. I'm Dan Voss, Executive Vice President of Industrial Operations for Myron Construction and part of our ownership group.
Hello, my name is Paul Lepre. I'm Vice President of Business Development for working out of our Wausau office and work very closely with Dan.
I don't know if we need a presentation. Justin did a pretty good job.
Well, we waited quite a while, so.
Yeah, this is great.
I'm just sorry I didn't have any filler. Right?
Justin?
No game tonight.
Yes.
In the projects that you liked so well that they were involved in, were they the builder or the construction management, I don't know what you call it, team, group?
Both, I would say.
I'm gonna test my memory back. Yeah, there was a little bit of both.
Okay.
For both of them.
I understand that's how this method of construction works, at least from Barrientos' presentation.
Yes, they're going to touch on that right now.
Yeah, so good evening again. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for allowing us to speak tonight. A quick agenda here to explain kind of why CM at risk. Why are we even talking about this? The GMP, what does GMP even mean? And I'm going to turn it over to Paul to talk milestone schedule, talk a little bit about our capabilities, as well on the building information modeling, a part of what we can provide as a CM at risk, and then turn it over to question and answer. So again, the big question, why CM at risk? Our industry right now is in a state of flux. On both the public and private sectors, a lot of owners are going to the construction management at risk solution. And why that is you get essentially an expert in the industry to become an extension of your team, to look out for the best interest of your team, while still abiding by all the bidding procurement rules or regulations that you have. Again, better collaboration. Instead of Barrientos going and working with your team for however many months and trying it out to bid, and then being potentially surprised at the number and being that farther behind on schedule, there are certain things that we can do to help schedule and keep you abreast of what is the budget before you go out for bid in the industry. That's our job, is to tell you, if you were to go out to bid today, here is what you would see in the industry. Again, competitive bidding on all work, input from your team and Barrientos. Open book process. Again, we provided our fees. Everything else is competitively bid. So that is the benefit to hiring a CM at risk. And again, any savings from a contingency factor or anything of that nature goes back to the city, not to Myron. Reduced schedules and earlier bid packages. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. There are certain things right now, structural steel, precast, some roofing materials we're going to talk about. There are ways that we can bid those portions out and get early procurement of that material to maintain your schedule. Again, value engineering and constructability reviews throughout the design process, like I mentioned. Our intent when we are hired for this is, again, not to be charging any pre-construction services. Our goal is to make sure that you have a viable project. So certain checkpoints, we would like to do an estimate right away. Certain checkpoints along the design phase to make sure you are trending in the right direction, that again, when you go out for bid, there are no surprises. And then again, use one of our tools that Paul will talk on the building information modeling. Again, just a slide on some long lead items that we're seeing in our industry. I think I have to add streetlights to this this slide, but that's a new one for me. But
motion to adjourn.
Again, certain things, building shell is paramount to keep things moving forward. Structural steel, like I said, there are certain ways that we can work with the engineer to get structural design done a little bit before, say, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, so that we can go out to the market and procure structural steel or precast or masonry and things of that nature.
Hey, can I just stop you for a second? I know Justin was being funny, but anybody that's out there listening, and if they heard the motion to adjourn, it was not by a council member. It was just by staff. Okay? So we do not have to act on it. All right? Go ahead.
So GMP, what is a GMP? That term gets floated out there a few times. So GMP stands for Guaranteed Maximum Price. At some point in this process, you are going to want to lock into a guaranteed maximum price. When can that be provided? Typically, we see that it is established after the bidding period. Again, if you wanted to lock a construction manager at risk up, say 50% of the way through design, you can certainly do that, and we can provide a guaranteed maximum price at that point. Again, to protect ourselves, you will just have a higher contingency factor on that number. So unless there is a rhyme or reason to absolutely lock in earlier than design being 100% complete, we typically see it after all bidding is done, all the scopes are vetted out, and we agree on who all the subcontractors and suppliers are going to be. So Paul, you're just going to talk quick milestone schedule?
Thank you, Dan. What you're looking at right now is the schedule that was included in our proposal. And one of the concerns is whether we could hit a 12-month schedule for the DPW facility. As you can see on this, we will be, we would mobilize in January. We're not exactly sure when this is going to start. So we're going to, we just use January as a day that we would begin mobilization. We would be turning over the keys to you in late November or early December. So we're extraordinarily comfortable with the 12-month schedule. The less time that we're there, the less this project becomes. So just wanted to demonstrate to you, we have milestone dates. If you see the two blue lines, I know they're somewhat difficult to see. You have bid pack, BP stands for bid package 1 and bid package 2. Those are for us to procure long lead items that Dan referred to earlier in the presentation. So with us being involved in the design process from the beginning, we can procure those items and direct our architectural partner, Barrientos, to get us what we need so we can get you the items so we do not have a delay in your schedule. And we're going to move on to what's called Building Information Modeling. In our industry, it's called BIM. And I'm showing you a video right now, and I want you to pay attention to the upper right-hand corner. By having us involved in the design process early on, we will build this facility virtually throughout the design process. And as you can see, it is a layered process. So each layer of this facility, this is an actual project that we did in Iowa. This is not a model this is an actual project. And one of the things that this features is a feature called clash detection. And as you can see in this model, this is of actual plans, plumbing and the HVAC are not playing well in the sandbox together. Now, what this would result in most cases is a change order. Nothing will destroy a budget faster than change orders. This, working in collaboration with our architectural partner, we will make the adjustments. We will resolve the clash. We will check the ceiling height to make sure that there is no other obstructions in this, and we find out that there is not, and we're able to move on. This graph of the actual plans, I know the dates are very difficult to see. The first iteration was done on May 5th. And on July 6th, so 2 months and 1 day, at the peak, there was 102 clashes in these approved plans. By the time we were 2 months and 1 day later, we were able to get those clashes down to 5. So 102 of those clashes could have possibly or could potentially have resulted in 102 change orders. So with us being involved in the design process moving forward, we were able to get that down to 5, and by the time we broke ground, those clashes were down to 0. So with our collaboration, using BIM or Building Information Modeling, we can also take a satellite image of your work area. This is extraordinarily important to us and our team and all the subcontractors that will be on site. We'll provide a site logistics plan. You can see on the left-hand side everything that it will do. For us, the most important things are safe traffic flow. We need to know how these large cranes, all this heavy equipment is going to be delivered safely. We also need to know how the structural steel, there's going to be tons of steel delivered in large quantities. How are we going to move those across the job site safely and what is called a laydown area? These trucks come in with the steel. We have to unload it and put it in an area that's safe and secure. All of this will be provided through this building information modeling, and it'll also provide any risk analysis that is going to be on the job site. So we make sure that all of our employees and all of our subcontracting partners go home safely each and every night. And for us, a real important thing for the site logistics also is we're going to take the Barrientos plan, we're going to take their massing, and we're going to set it on that job site. You will see what it will look like on the job site before a shovel touches the ground. All of these things that we are doing would be in the pre-construction phase. You will not receive a bill from Myron Construction until the day we arrive. So regardless of how long it takes to get this approved and through the building process, Dan and the ownership team wanted to make sure that this project was right for the city of Waupaca and contributed the pre-construction fee. He also wrote a lot of really, really big checks for that technology and the building information modeling that we're all really thrilled about, but he had to write a really big check and continues to. So with that, we would like to turn it over to questions and answers, and that means Dan's back on.
The one thing I can add too that Paul didn't touch on is through this pre-construction phase you saw the site logistics plan, whatever we do on the building information modeling, we provide a very thorough schedule. All of that is in preparation to send out bid packages for people to bid on. And our job is to make that bid package extremely black and white to make sure everyone knows specifically, the electrical contractor, when do I need to be on site? When is my scope supposed to start and finish? That's our job. And as soon as you get gray into the mix, contractors add costs because it's unknown. So again, construction management at risk, that is what you're hiring us to do, is make it very black and white and hopefully drive a lot of costs out of the project. So with that, any questions?
Anybody have any questions? I know Scott and Mary, for sure, you were on the committee that approved them. So
I would just say after this presentation that I just heard, it really seems like a slam dunk because we just don't have that expertise. And the money we're spending on this project, we want to make it a good bang for our buck and don't want any change orders. And this is just, I think, absolutely the way to go.
Yes.
yeah, I think that's great too. I really caught on to the change order thing too, because we've had numerous projects over the years where we've seen so many change orders, we don't even know what change order is a change order. So, yeah, we appreciate that. Colin, did you have a comment?
Have you worked with Barrientos before?
That is a good question. Yep.
Yes, in our presentation, we have worked with Barrientos on numerous projects. We're continuing to propose on several. I believe the number of projects that we have done with them exceeds $26 million and roughly 10 projects. Some of them have been obviously much smaller, some renovations, but all of them have been in the highway, DPW, or that type of work. Barrientos is one of the state leaders in DPW, and they're a boutique shop out of Milwaukee, but they have carved a niche in themselves as one of the state leaders in building DPW and highway garages. But we have worked with them numerous times. I believe the number of projects is 10, and it exceeds $26 million.
Were they on budget?
All of them were on budget, yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Justin, you want to?
Yeah, so I pointed out the reasons this is the direction we're going. Lead times, cost control. The contract with Myron at what we're looking at is $575. The borrow that basically Kathy already glanced over a couple items ago, we were able to shift money out of 22, lower that number in 22. We could use that for other projects and move that, I guess, just move it around to make it better for all of our projects. That was reflected in that budget. So what we're looking at is going on a contract with Myron, with that funding to be out of the 2022 bond issue. Any more clarification? I'm open to questions, or Kathy on the financial side.
Go ahead, Ken.
The building is going to include this construction management. So that's where we're getting the 6.95 on a 20-year bond. So this is going to be a separate bond. We normally do 7 to 10 years, maybe even 5 on our other road project bonds, so we pay off our debt faster. But this one we're going to put together with the bond, so it'll be a 20-year bond for just under $7 million.
All right. So that's actually in 2023.
Correct.
2023. Anybody else have any questions? So your recommendation is, Justin?
Award Myron for amount not to exceed $475,575
Okay.
for CM at risk services.
I'll make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Prochatsky, second by Fair, that we approve entering into a contract with Myron Construction for an amount not to exceed $475,575 for construction management at risk services for our future public works facility, and the funds will be paid out of the 2023 bond issue. Any other discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
Lori Chestnut.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Scott Prochatsky.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
Mary Fair.
Aye.
And Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, Paul, Dan, thank you. Congrats. Looking forward to working with you. Safe trips, Dan. I know you got to take a trip tonight. All right, let's move on to a different voice. Let's go to conditional use permit. Jarrett, you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This is on page 170 of your packet. So this is a conditional use request for a new business out by the airport. Owners are Mike Whittlestat and Kelsey Hayes. They are looking to do a set of personal storage units out on this parcel. It is the bigger parcel in the staff report, kind of centered in the picture on page 170. Parcel is currently vacant. It is currently zoned I-1 light industrial, which does have the personal storage units as a conditional use. Future land use is the neighborhood mixed use, not that it much matters in this case scenario. I'm not looking at a zoning change. All of the lot standards are compliant, highlighted in green. There are conditions with the request provided by staff, and approval is recommended. So I will take any questions you have specifically on it.
And let's just make sure that the council members understand that this did run through the City Planning Commission, and City Planning Commission is recommending this to council for approval.
Yes, and I will point out as well, Plan Commission did approve a site plan contingent on this. So if this does go through, their site plan is already approved.
Okay, anybody have any questions? So you do have some conditions that are on page 174. So if you do make the motion, you would be approving those also.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Martin, that we approve of the conditional use permit for Michael Weddlestadt and Kelsey Hayes for property located on Commercial Drive. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan, Lori Chestnut, aye, and Lori Chestnut, I'm sorry.
Aye.
And Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, we have a first reading of ordinance 18-21. Jarrett, your name's on that one?
Yeah, happy to take this one. So this is on 217 of your packet. Almost done. So 2 items as we're kind of looking through permitted, conditional, prohibited uses within our code. The first one, the professional studios. So this was kind of brought up. We were kind of looking at the downtown districts. Someone had bought a parcel in one of the B7 districts and had noted that professional studios was not a permitted use, and it, in fact, was a prohibited use. So kind of looking at that, it was permitted in B1 through B6. It's a relatively inintensive or non-intensive land use that really didn't have a purpose to not be allowed in the B7. B7 would actually be a pretty good use, as it is very, very similar to the B2 downtown central business district. So that was one of the changes. The other change was regarding manufacturing operations in the I2 district. So really, I2 is meant for manufacturing, and from a staff perspective, it's just an oversight to have made it conditional. It's just an extra step of something that should be allowed in that district anyway. Second request on this ordinance would be transitioning the manufacturing operations from conditional to permitted in the ordinance. So I'll take any questions you may have.
Again, this is something that was discussed at City Planning Commission and has been recommended for approval at council. Obviously, this is first reading, so we'll take this up at our first meeting in December. Okay? All right, Jarrett, thank you. You got another one, though. You got the fee schedule change.
One more closer, 218 to 219. So staff has been kind of reworking applications. Applications will actually be brought just as a review and a discussion to the next plan commission meeting. But as we're going through these applications, we're kind of looking at fee prices, and specifically for a change of use application. So a change of use application is required for any change of use, primarily of a commercial structure. So residential to residential, not so much, but commercial, if it's going from a bakery to a child care center, that's a change of use. So we would require that be submitted to us to ensure that the zoning code is being complied with. So in that past example, is the child care facility a permitted use in that district? Is it compatible with the surrounding land uses? It's just really that quick review. Nothing too special, and usually isn't any big of an issue, as it's usually similar uses going into the buildings. So our original fee for any site plan was $150, which for a simple change of use, again, that we are just checking over, making sure it is compliant. We felt that that was a bit high, and I think our goal is to, again, encourage that people come in and get this application filled out, submitted to us so that we can ensure proper land use regulations are being followed. In turn, all of the great things of protecting property values, protecting, people's rights, people's quality of life. So again, something we want to encourage more than discourage. So looking at making this change of use application a fee of $25, which would account for the staff time approximate that it would take to review, instead of the $150. So I will take any questions on that.
Sounds good.
And again, this was looked over by Plan Commission
Right.
and recommended by Plan Commission.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mayo, second by Olson, that we approve the fee schedule change for the change of use of properties. Any discussion? Note to all of you department heads, if you want something approved, wait till you come up after 8 o'clock at night. You have a better chance.
I promise I did not specifically request to be at the end.
All right, Sandy, you want to call the roll?
Yep. Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
Lori Chestnut.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
Mary Fair.
Aye.
And Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, we have license report 1558. There are 4 names on there that are applying for operator's license. We would need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Chestnut, second by Fair, that we approve license report 1558. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Communications, recommendations of the mayor. I just want to mark your calendars just a little bit ahead. Jarrett, remind me again that it's December 1st, right, with, that we're having the sign meeting?
Yes, it should be December 1st, which is the first Wednesday in December.
Okay. And I would strongly suggest, council members, if you have that available to you, that you either attend in person or virtually. I think it's a hot topic, and we never seem to get on the same page all the time. So I think it would be important that everybody is in attendance for that. And then
What time, Mayor? I'm sorry, what time?
5:15.
5:15 meeting.
5:50?
5:50.
Yeah, 5:15. Thinking to the agenda, it is the third item, I guess, not counting approval of the minutes, but the third item. So it'll be a little bit into the meeting, but meeting does start at 5:15.
Thank you. And then just one other item. As you're looking forward on your calendar, we try to reduce your load in the month of December. And so we'll try as hard as we can not to have 2 meetings in December. So we'll probably just have the first meeting in December, which is January 7th. If we do have to have a second meeting, you'll know by December 7th whether we'll need to have a second meeting. But I don't foresee us having to have that. Okay? So that would be a Merry Christmas present to you. And I'm sorry, one other thing, and Aaron brought it up too, that luncheon that we're talking about for employees, it is also for council members, and I think it would be wonderful if you all took the opportunity to attend, if you can attend. I know some of you will just not be able to, for whatever reason or not, but yeah, I think it would be nice.
Just a reminder, we're looking at December 8th for that.
We'll send out a calendar reminder for that also.
Well, being as we're having a meeting the day before, that would be a good reminder there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Come hungry. All right,
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Hagan.
Second.
Second by Keelan that we adjourn this meeting until our next scheduled meeting, which is December 7th, 2021, subject to call. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against, say no. Motion carried. We're adjourned at 8:26 p.m. Have a great